Hey class. So this is our final video for the semester. Although actually I'll have a couple more review videos. So I'll do a review of the creative briefs either tomorrow or Wednesday, and then I'll do a review of the final projects next week. So not the final video, but the final regular class video. I lost my voice a little bit, so bear with me. But this video should be relatively short. I'm just going to go over the process for submitting the final project. So last week we made the creative brief and we went over the requirements for the project. I'm going to review the requirements for a second, and then I'll just go through the steps of submitting the project on OpenLab and Blackboard. So it should be pretty straightforward. You do have a bunch of different options, so I'll try to be clear about what those options are, but I'm just going to do some basic examples. Let's get started with that. So I'm going to go over to Blackboard, and let's just take a look at the requirements before we get started. I'm going to go to MMP 100, go to the student preview. And so if we look down here at our final project, you can see all of the requirements listed here. And then if we go in here, we can also view the rubric. So we're going to submit a creative brief. We went over that last week, but we are going to submit it with the project. All of the master files for your project. And so this is going to be different for different people depending on what media you're creating. I'm going to do an example of an audio project. So I'll be submitting an AUP3 file. Obviously, if you're doing something with Photoshop or Illustrator or After Effects, you'll be using one of those file types, PSD or AI or AE. You can also do a combination of those, and make sure if you're not sure if you have all the right files before you submit, just send me an email. You can just ask, or we can meet on Zoom and go over it. Because this is the final project, you're not going to have a chance to resubmit. So if you don't submit those files, you're not going to get full credit on the project. So make sure that you do submit those files. And again, if you're not sure, just send me an email. I'm happy to go over it. I'm happy to, review your whole final project with you before you submit. So beyond that, you're going to submit a link to your project published in Code Sandbox, as well as a link to the code page for Code Sandbox. And I'll go over that in a bit. And then a description for the project, as usual. There's a template here, which we'll follow. Let me open this in a different window. And of course, this includes licensing credits. So make sure that you look at this. If you're using images or audio sources and you don't have credit for them, then you won't get credit for that. If it's not clear to me, like maybe you took a photo yourself and you used it in the project, you should make it clear, photo taken by author or something like that, or just say everything in the project was created by the author. Otherwise, I won't necessarily know, so I may take points off for that if it's not clear. So just make sure that you credit everything or acknowledge in some way where the media sources came from. So we'll leave this here. We'll come back to this when we make our post. And if we look at the rubric, this is a lot of the same stuff, but it kind of breaks down in terms of what everything is worth in terms of your final project grade. So just take a quick look at that. It's got everything on here. The one thing that's not there in the description is the general idea/execution. So this is more about, does the project have an original theme? Is it well executed? So does it look good? Or all the details? Are there a lot of attention paid to detail? Is there typos? Are there errors? Things like that. So that's kind of a more general overview of how well the project is executed. That is, make sure to review the rubric and the requirements before you submit. If you've got any questions about that, send me an email. I'll be happy to go over it. Okay, so we've reviewed everything. And so now what we want to do is go over the steps for submitting the project. So we're going to need a few things. I'm going to first go to my Finder and make sure I have the files that I need. So I'm going to go to my MMP 100 folder. I've created a final project folder here. And then I just have an example. I haven't actually, made new audio, but just as an example, I have my final audio.aup3 and my final audio.mp3, so the exported file. So the AUP3 file, we need to remember, is going to go onto Blackboard when we submit. The MP3 file is going to go into the website project itself. And if you're doing an audio project, you might have multiple files, and make sure that if you do, that you submit all of them. Same thing with Photoshop or animation or Illustrator or anything else you're working on. If you have multiple files, so if you made like a bunch of different pages for a comic in Illustrator, make sure to submit each one of the Illustrator files that's associated with the project. Okay, so we've got our files ready. We are now going to go to Code Sandbox and look for our audio template. I'm going to click on here. And let's just, for the sake of the example, I'm going to make a fork of this, and I'm going to rename this project. So I'm going to go here and rename this to final project. And you can use the title for whatever your final project is. You don't have to call it final project. And so we would first, this is where our audio is going to be. So you can see I have my audio final here, and then it's embedded on the page here. I went over the process for doing that in the previous video last week. So if you have questions about that, you can look at that video or just send me an email and we can go over it. So this is what your Code Sandbox project should look like. And we're going to use a link from here by going to the share button and then copying this URL here. That's the link to our code. So we have that ready. And then we're also going to link to the project itself. You can grab the link from there, or if you click on the web preview, you can grab the link from right there. So that's everything that we need. So let's go over to our Open Lab page and get started with our post. So we're going to make a new post here. And I'm going to, let's hide me for a second. I'm going to select the category first. So this is going to be the final project. And let's collapse some of these menus. And we're going to call this my final project. Feel free to use the name of your final project here. So then for the final project statement, we're going to have the title. So that will be the title of the post. You can put it again down here if you want. So I'll say my final project. And next, we're going to put the semester and year. So this is spring 2024. And then finally, we're going to put the software, coding, or programming languages that you use for the project. So this is going to be different depending on what you used. I'm going to put what I used. So I used HTML, CSS, and Audacity. And those are all the programs that I used. If you're doing an audio project, that's probably going to be the same for you. If you're doing something with visuals, you might use Photoshop or After Effects or Illustrator. Okay, next we are going to link to our project. So I'm going to grab the main project link here first. You don't really need the index.html at the end, so if you want to make it a little shorter, you can get rid of that. And I'm just going to hit Command C or Control C to copy this. And then I'm going to paste it right here. And I don't want to embed the URL, so just a quick reminder, if you see this embed URL, just click Convert to Link, and it'll turn into a link. And if you want to put live project or live site here, so we know what this link is going to, that could be useful. And then we could say code or dev site here. And we're going to go over here and click on the share button again. And we don't want to include the editor layout because that makes the link really long. So make sure that's off. And we have a nice condensed short link there. And this one, since I put it after the text, it doesn't link. So let's just go ahead and click the link button. And then we can also click open in a new tab if we want to make these links open in a new tab. Okay, so now it's time for the description. And so this is going to be similar to your creative brief. You might use some of the text that you put in there for your description, but since we have the new project here, we do want to, give a little bit of an overview of what the project is about. So I'm just going to do a couple sentences. So I'm going to say, for my final project, I recorded a series of interviews. This is just an example, so you should be describing your project. I'm just using this as an example. So I recorded a series of interviews and put them together on a website. And then, any other details that you want to include about the project that might be relevant to the audience. Remember that this should be written for a general audience, so especially with your final project, you may want to turn this into a portfolio piece at some point if you're happy with how it looks and you want to show off a project that you created when you are applying for an internship or applying for a job or applying to transfer to another school or for scholarship, any of these things where you want to be able to show off work that you've done. You want to make sure that you have stuff that is ready to go. So you want to write this for a general audience. It's not written for me or for other people in the class. It's more written for somebody who's not familiar with the process to let them know how you created it. So I'll just say I edited the audio with Audacity and created the website using HTML and CSS on the Code Sandbox platform. Okay, if you did if you used any media, any images or audio or anything else to create your project, make sure to put credits here. If you didn't, just say something like all images created by the author or audio. Since I'm doing an audio project, I'll say all audio was created by the author. Or if you use some background music, put those credits in there. So we've already gone over this process a bunch of times, so I'm not going to do that now. But you can review some of our previous videos, or if you want to review it with me, we could do it in office hours or over email. So just make sure you have those citations in there. Okay, so we're almost done with this section. The last thing that I want to do, I'm just going to put a comment here that says or use citations. A nice thing to have is some kind of visual. So if you're adding something to your portfolio, even though we can link out to the website itself, it's always nice to have a visual to kind of ground the post in what type of project this is and sort of give the user or the reader a sense of what they're looking at. So I'm going to put this actually before the title. I'm going to make a space up here, and I'm just going to make a screenshot of my website. So I'm going to grab the website. I'm going to pull this tab out so it's by itself, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just because it doesn't actually take up that much space, what I've got here. But just frame it in a way that kind of looks aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't have to be, a specific size. It could be larger, it could be smaller, but just something that is going to look nice on the website itself. Now, if you're on a Mac like me, you can hit Command Shift and 4, and that'll bring up the screenshot button. You can also just use the screenshot app. I don't know if I've shown this before, but there's an app called Screenshot which does the same thing, and we can change the option here to window, and then we can just once I change it to window, it gives me this little camera, and I can just click on that window. If you're on a Windows, I would recommend using the Xbox game bar if it's built in to take a screenshot. There's lots of other ways to do it. If you need help with that, let me know and we can go over it. Okay, so I've got a screenshot. I'm going to go back to my OpenLab post, and I'm going to click Add Image and go to Upload. And I have the screenshot on my desktop, and I'm just going to open it up in there. And so again, having a visual is just a nice way to give the reader a sense of what they're looking at. And then, if they click on the link, they'll see the live version. Okay, so this is everything that we need in our post. And so now we're ready for the final part, which is submitting everything together, on Blackboard. Okay, so let's publish before we do that. So I'm going to publish the post. And that will give me the link to the live blog post, which I can click here. Okay, so now I've got everything I need. I'm going to go over to Blackboard and I'm going to create a submission for my final project. And so first I'm going to start with the creative brief. So I'll put creative brief here. So there's going to be 2 links here. You could also link to your creative brief in your final project post if you like. I'm going to, should have gotten this before actually, but let's just go to my author page and find my creative brief. Okay, so here's my creative brief. I'm going to copy that link from the browser bar and then paste it in there, and then final project. And I'm going to copy my final project link and post it right there. So there's going to be 2 links, the creative brief and the final project. Unless you link to the creative brief in your post, that's fine as well. Okay, so next we just need to upload our edit files or our master files. So I'm going to go to attach files, browse local files. I'm going to go to my documents, MMP 100, and go to my final project. And here I'm going to attach the AUP3. So again, if you had multiple audio pieces that you edited for your project, include all of them. If you had multiple images or AI files, PSD files, AE files, whatever it is that you use to create the project, those need to go on here. If you're not sure, again, please let me know. We can go over it together, or you can submit and I can review and let you know if you've got everything that you need. Okay, I'm blocking the submit button, so let's get rid of me for a second. So I've got my creative brief, my final project, and I've got my audio file, and that is everything that I need to post. So I'm going to click submit here, and that's it. I'm going to be good to go. So I'm going to get out of here. So that's it. That's everything you need to do for your final project. If you have any questions, if you're not sure if you have the right files, if you need help with your website, if you need help editing your project, any of the above, please let me know. We have 1 week plus 1 day left in the semester. So next Tuesday is going to be the final day to submit. You can see that due date here, final project due May 21st. So everything has to be turned in by then. Anything that is turned in after the 21st, I will not be looking at. So make sure you have everything in by then. And if you're not sure that you've done everything or you have questions about stuff, let me know soon so we can meet this week and go over things. I am going to be traveling this weekend, so I'm not going to be super available. I'll try to be available when I can, but that's why I extended the deadline for a day. So next Tuesday, I'll be available if you have questions. I can respond to things. But I also have office hours tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning. And then if those don't work, I'll be available Thursday as well. So you can contact me and we can set up a time to talk. All right, so I'll post another video where I review the final programming projects tomorrow. And then, or sorry, not the programming projects, the creative brief. So I'll take a look at the creative brief that you guys are submitting today. And I'll post a review tomorrow and give a little feedback. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.